Hi everyone. Hello, Modern Witches. I hope you're doing well. I'm Karima, I'm your astrologer, and I'm with Mariana. Hi, Mariana.
Hi, Karima. Hi, everyone.
I hope you're all doing well. Today, unfortunately, Casey was not able to join us, but she will for the next episode of Aries season, spring equinox. We can wait. And today we are going to talk about Pisces season. I know it
Mhm.
has been tough out there. We all feeling the energy is not easy. But there's also a lot of personal, I feel, growth that we can all have with those transits right now and not too much focus on what's going on in our world, even if it's important, is also what's going on inside of us and how we grow in our personal life. So we're
Mhm.
also going to talk about each transit and how they're going to also impact you. I think it's important to emphasize on that. We also gonna talk about what is Pisces. I think
Mhm.
just putting keywords and frame around what is the sign of Pisces right now, because there's so much happening in it and
Mhm.
it's so important. Aries season also is going to be important, and we're going to also we talk about what is the sign of Aries, just because there's so many things also happening here in this sign next year. I mean, this year and next year. And so the energy of Pisces, it's very watery. It's a water sign. We
Mhm.
all know that. But is also a very deep emotional sign that needs to find process and coping with how to cope with his emotion. I think if we let a Pisces run wild for a while is great, but it also there's a need to go back to the reality, and for that they need to be putting in place some structure around how to
Mhm.
process the emotion. And I think we are going to talk about it in this episode, especially about boundary work, cleaning work, cleansing your house and yourself, shedding, meditation, because those are the tools that are very useful for Pisces. And also, of course, physical stuff like sport and exercise and moving your
Mhm.
body, because Pisces is a sign that takes so much inside of him, and it can be coming back at us if we don't deal with them in different part of the body and physically. It can be pain, it can be difficulty to move. So understanding the depth of our emotion will be also beneficial for our body. I know it was a long intro, but I really wanted to emphasize on what we're going to talk about and what's going to be helpful for you in that episode. I'm just going to do my little housekeeping by saying follow us if you don't. Follow the
Mhm.
podcast. Follow us on Instagram. We talk about different sign and of course astrology, but we'll talk about everything which is and spiritual that I hope can help you in your daily life and in your routine. And if you want to comment, leave us a comment. That always help the podcast and us to know what you think about our episode all the time. And we love also to hear from you. So that give us a give boost of energy to me, Mariana, and Casey when I see those comments. So
Yeah.
thank you for those who are commenting. Thank you for those who are about to comment. I think I did my due diligence by talking about it. And
Yes, yes, you
now
did.
we are ready to talk about what's coming up starting on February 18th when the sun enters Pisces.
Yes. I'm gonna share our screen so you guys can look at the transits,
Hmm.
and then we can start talking more in depth about Pisces and
Hmm.
everything else. Oh, Karima, can you make me a host or
Oh,
co-host?
yeah, sure. Um,
So yeah, no, Pisces season is so, like you said, it's like a season of depth. And it's always like any water season, a season where we seek safety. We try to,
hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, um, to find safety. But in Pisces, it's a whole of like, how do we find safety uh, in this collective pool of everything?
Yeah.
There's so much coming at us all the time. I feel like
Hmm.
all our lives. this is like a constant bombardment of energies that we experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, just on the note, Saturn is in Pisces still. It's been there for almost like what, 2 years or something? Plus two
Mm-hmm.
years it
Mm-hmm.
has been in Pisces. And one of the lessons there has been, you need to create, in order to even have an attempt at the universal love, you need to have strong boundaries. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that there are all sorts of things coming at you all the time, and not all of them you require to take in.
Mm-hmm.
So having that kind of like boundaries that you talked about is the hardest lesson for Pisces, to have boundaries.
Yes, it is. And I feel like you mentioned, there's so much coming at us. And because we're in a society where there is the biggest money right now is the intention that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and the attention that we put on other people, and the attention
Mm-hmm.
that corporation seek from us. And so having that always marketing towards us to like your attention here, your attention here. And I'm just talking about like different thing. It can be visual when you walk out there, or it can be for your phone or your computer, and say how is to
Mm-hmm.
be the perfect house, or how to be in the perfect couple relationship, or how to be. So it's so much out there, and sometimes you don't even need it, and you look for it because you have been having subliminal message coming from
Mm-hmm.
different channel. And so
Mm-hmm.
having strong boundary work and strong boundary routine is not only good for you and your emotional process, and your emotional, like how to find how to manage everything related to your feelings and all that, especially when we talk about towards people, but it's also about how to create a strong armor to fight against everything that's coming at you, or to block
Mm-hmm.
everything that is coming at you, and to try having your brain kind of work in your favor and not against you, and
Mm-hmm.
really having this thought that is coming from us and from you, and not from other people or other marketing tool. And I think that's one of the hardest thing that we have to do in our time period and for our generation. It's how to know that we need to have calm space, and space where we can find ourselves, and be only in conversation with ourselves, and see what is coming from us really, and our thought and our opinion, then what is the person on Instagram say, or in that YouTube channel say, and we think that is our opinion, but it's not really.
Mm-hmm.
It's the influence of other people, and we've been influenced no matter what. That is our human, you know,
Nature. Yeah.
conception. But the truth is, like, we also need to have a balance between that and what we really think have time to be in retrieval of ourselves, to really think what's coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
Pisces is teaching us that the time alone, you don't have to be lonely. It's just
Mm-hmm.
having time and space during your day or during your week to have time to reflect on what you saw, and to kind of see how you feel, and have time to process everything. Because in that time of like rushing hours, it's like we don't have time to process everything. And I just feel like Pisces is teaching us how to do that, and he's forcing us to do that,
Mm-hmm.
because we can feel overwhelmed, and the only way to process that is to back up. And so
100%. It's a back up because it's a Jupiter ruled sign, right? So we have to
mhm,
have it, we can't see a big picture if we don't back up, right? It's like we don't take a step back and we don't try to see the fullness of what's in front of us, what we heard, what we saw, and kind of like not even with our mind, but with our heart and with our perception, because Pisces is very perceptive, it's not very analytical. So through see, because perception, when you're in the midst of things, when you're like, oh, things are flying at me, all this happening, energies and opinions and emotions and all of that. But to perceive from far away is a whole different thing. It's to
yeah,
feel through this from a distance, to allow
mhm,
yourself to feel and not to be dragged into something where you lose yourself in that is a huge task. And yeah, it's again, it's a Jupiter ruled sign. It's about higher mind. It's about
Yeah.
higher vision. It's very important to remember this. Yeah, and another thing that I want to add about Pisces is that ultimately, when we are hit with marketing and consumerism and all this like pseudo perfection, like do this and or like how to be morally right. The only way is a spiritual core, is a spiritual connection to something.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
when you were talking about like being alone, you're never alone if you
Hmm.
have the spiritual component of your life.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
enriching. But if you don't have that and you find yourself in temporary isolation, it can be devastating,
Yeah.
So it's very important that whatever it is that you're connected to,
Yeah.
cultivating that.
Hmm. And it's also like I don't want to be like all bad mouthing about what's the marketing and all that. I think there's healthy marketing. I think it's great that we can look at other people's experience very fast. It's not that. It's just like sometimes it can be very overwhelming because sometimes it is like pushing down your throat, even if you don't want it. And so that's
Mhm.
where there's the limit and the boundary work that we're talking about. And it's
Mhm.
true, I enjoy being able to look on my computer and find many different answers about and see many different people's life and even buying stuff that I need, like, like whatever it
Yes.
is. But like having this kind of discipline in our life, I think to
Yeah.
know when to stop, to know when to back up, to know when you say be alone, but spiritually, because with spiritual being, we're never alone.
Yes.
um, I like having that, and I think Saturn in the sign of Pisces is good in the sign of Pisces. It likes being in Pisces, and like I always say in past episode, it giving us a container to put our water in and kind of a safe container instead of spraying out the water everywhere.
Mhm.
And so Saturn is here to teach us discipline in those areas of life. And because there's so much happening, like when we enter Pisces, so we have the Sun in Pisces, we have Mercury in Pisces, we have Saturn in Pisces, we have the North Node in Pisces, we have Neptune in Pisces, yes, we have North Node is a point, it's not a planet, but we have four other planets also in it. So it's a lot of focus on that area of your life. So whatever is Pisces in your chart, looking at the area of your life that it hits, if you have planets in Pisces, would totally transform that house. And so being really focused on what is going on in that house is going to be important and putting system in place to help you in that house. In that area of life will be very helpful. You probably already felt it with so many planets already
Mhm.
in it, and then the sun joining the team, you're gonna feel it even more. The sun highlight everything that it touch. So focusing on that, and it can be difficult for many different people
Mhm.
because Pisces is not clear, is very like is in the realm of dream, is in the realm of film, is in the realm of art. So not everything is direct and not everything is like clear. And so that can be very confusing. We can feel drawn in our emotion, and not everything is clear right now. There's a lot of research in ourselves, in outside. So just to let you know, if you have to make a decision and it's hard right now, that's normal. If you have to move
Mhm.
forward in life and you have a hard time, you kind of like feeling that you're doing two step forward, one step back, or that you're like running and you're not moving forward, that's normal. I feel like Pisces season, and because we have even right now when we're in Aquarius season, we have so much in Pisces, we already feel that and it's already there. So don't beat up yourself if things
Mhm.
are not moving your way. It's just the way right now for Pisces is zig and zag and like turn and turn around, and it can be very, very challenging for many people to follow that rhythm, especially if you don't have water in your chart, or if you're not if you're very earthy people or very fiery people, that's tough. But
Mhm.
when things gonna move along during that year, 2025, there's a lot happening in Aries, so things gonna move when planets also
Yeah,
move in Aries, which is gonna be a very different energy. And so here it is the time to do that work. It is the time to
that's
dive deep into that work because after that, things gonna run so fast that you might not have the time to find coping mechanisms or thinking about your feeling. You will have time, but around you is going to move so fast that you might stumble if you don't have the right tools. So here, enjoy, even if it's hard, enjoy the time to dive deep. Enjoy the time
yeah.
to
And
go for
in
it.
100% in all the fairness, as much as confusing Pisces season can be, comparing to Aquarius season, I prefer it so much this particular year. I mean, not over as between the signs, but as in this year, because
Hmm.
during the Pisces season, Jupiter is already fully direct, the ruler of this season. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
Mars in Cancer is trining all this like Pisces placements. I
Hmm.
like that. So there
Hmm.
is some kind of more or less support. At the end of this, we'll talk about it, but like in the beginning of the season, Mars also goes there. So there is a support for making those first little steps.
Hmm. Yeah.
First, nothing major, don't, but just kind of settle, like put first bricks, just a little bit, or settle, like find the place, find the
Yeah.
space where you want to put the bricks. Don't even put the bricks, just find the place. Like,
Yeah.
it's sort
Yeah.
of like that energy, not rushing, because we have, by the end of the Pisces season, we have a lot of retrograde energy again. So just
Hmm.
this, it's a season of kind of, we make an advancement, but
Mm.
we keep in mind that it's a little bit like uh 2025 overall, sorry, I'm gonna like jump there for a second, is a year where we have to make a lot of small quick decisions.
Hmm. Hmm.
A year of many decisions, many choices overall, so why Pisces season is important is we take care of the subconscious place from which we make those decisions.
Mm.
What is the what drives you emotionally and subconsciously? So like this is when we talk about preparation, that's what we're preparing, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, here you see on the can you see the chart on the
Yeah.
screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the chart of the ingress, and I think we talked about it, right? So we have Moon in
Yeah.
Scorpio, which is not the most favorite position, but trining Mercury, then
Hmm.
trining Saturn. Like it's forming a lot of so depth. The theme of the season is depth.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the theme. Whatever you want to dive deep into, make your
Mhm.
list, go for it.
Yeah.
This is the time. And like I said, look where Pisces in your chart to know where it is, to know
Yeah.
where is the dive deep.
Yeah.
Like I give you an example. For me, for example, my Pisces is house is in the 12th house. There's a lot about
Hmm.
introspection. There's a lot of meditation, challenge, try to connect with something bigger. There's a lot of theme in that house.
Hmm.
However, always look at what planet do you have in Pisces? Because I have my moon, which is related to home, family life, mother, which gonna also have an impact in my house. And I feel it already. It's
Hmm.
crazy. So make sure to know what is in your chart and what planet is in this part of a Pisces. And if you want to ask question to us, feel free to ask question in the comment. We're happy to answer those.
Hmm.
But that might change the tone of the Pisces house. So that's why it's
Hmm.
important to see if you have houses, planet in it.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna jump for like
Oh,
forward on February 24th when Mars goes finally direct at 17 degrees in Cancer. I'm saying finally because
oh no, it's seriously, it's triple finally. I can't even stress enough how final it is.
yeah, and it is. Mars is not happy. It is not happy in Cancer, meaning that I mean he's not feeling very comfortable. He's not at his full power. Doesn't mean everything is bad, but it's just like not. It cannot function at its 100%. Mars is our willpower, is how we put action in, is our fire energy, and in Cancer, it's kind of like in the water and is like probably submerged by different emotion that
Mhm.
usually Mars is not worried about, is more worried about jumping into action and not lingering into the emotional part. That's why I'm talking about Mars finally going back direct, because adding to that this retrograde might be confusing for a lot of people. It might be like a soul-seeking vibe for a long time,
Mm.
and having to deal with maybe burst of emotion that's coming from you don't know where it's coming from. Also, sometimes it's like bursts of anger that we don't know where it's coming from. And it can
Mhm.
be very challenging when we feel like we're swimming and we don't know where we're going in that
Oh,
school of
so
emotion.
much of that. Like
So,
honestly, we both Aries risings,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and we're ruled by Mars, and Mars transit our fourth house.
yeah,
And for me personally, since Mars went into shadow, I went home first time in 7 years. I came back. I moved two places in the last 4 months, 3 months.
yeah.
I'm moving again. So, and it's like this, and Mars is cutting. So I cut off like a place where I lived in New York for like on and off for 10 years.
Mm-hmm,
So a lot of cutting, 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 like,
yeah.
and I won't say it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. I won't say it's bad.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
think it's for the better,
mm-hmm.
but I'm not like Mars doesn't like being in Cancer. Everything is done through some kind of difficulty.
Yeah,
So, because it's like you're trying to find home, the action is a pursuit of home.
yeah.
For me, it's so like
It's written,
it's
written.
written all over.
Yeah.
It's so much of that.
Yeah.
And
And
but
it's true, but it's just it's making action more difficult. So you have to cut in a
yeah.
very maybe hard way,
Mhm.
and it because it's emotional. That's a cut that is have a huge impact on yourself. You know.
Yeah. It's and the thing is, just to give everyone a little bit of a silver lining to look forward to. What Mars is doing here in Cancer, once Jupiter in June goes into Cancer, which is an exaltation, it will start mending. It will
Yeah.
start putting things together there. So
Yeah.
don't despair if something is difficult or like a relationship at home are difficult or there have been a lot of tension at home or things like that, a lot of fighting at home or
Yeah.
something like that. If that has been, everybody has different manifestations of Mars in Cancer,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Some more, some less.
Yeah.
But whichever it is for you, Jupiter go in there to heal.
Yeah. There's going there to like cut you loose, make the hard work happening. Because, like Marina mentioned, the good thing is that we have Jupiter coming in that part of the chart later in mid this
Mm,
year.
yeah.
It's May, right?
I
May?
think I have it here. Hold on. I have all the like, Jupiter goes
Not sure is it
into Cancer on
May or
June
beginning.
9th.
Oh, it's beginning of June. Yeah, June
Mhm.
9. And that's gonna ease everything. So the work that you're doing right now, it's tough, but it's going to be validated as soon as Jupiter enter that part of your chart, making it more
Mhm.
flourish. You're basically making space right now for what it is to
Mhm.
come. Right now,
Exactly.
Mars is doing the um, tough work of rising everything up, so it can be anger, dispute, like difficulty in the area of your life that you have hard time to move forward. You have to cut things. You have to go that way instead of that way. There's a lot of things happening, but it's to give space to something better, because when Jupiter's going to come here, it's going to bring more opportunity, more juju, more more things that is like beneficial to
Mhm.
you. And for that you need to do the hard work before. So, and now that we have Mars going direct, it's a good it's a good like feeling that it feel like it's a space in time when things like just stop for a little bit and we kind of
Mhm.
like going back step by step up, and that will feel good. There's more or less like reviewing, restructuring, reorganizing. Is more like, okay, like I think I figure out like the way now, and I'm gonna start to move slowly into that direction.
Yeah.
It is not like still it's not a fast pace. We're still Mars is in water, Pisces season, four planet in Pisces, North Node in Pisces. So we're still like in the mud, and we start to pull
Mhm.
out our boots out of the mud one step at a time. But it's
Mhm.
still like it's a good time. It's a good stopping time to just redirect, and we can move for a little bit further. So I'm too excited about that. So February
Me
24th.
too. Oh, so I'm so excited. And one last thing about that, find where is your moon sign, because Mars is in the moon's ruled sign, Cancer.
Hmm. Hmm.
So where you have your moon natally will also tell you a little bit more about what it is in relation to you
Yeah.
specifically. So your natal moon placement by house, by the sign, that's where
Hmm.
also some things start changing and improving.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah.
then the next day we have, I really like the combo of those two. Mars going direct on the 24th, and then on February 25th, we
Hmm.
have Mercury conjunct Saturn at 20 degree.
Hmm. Here it is.
And I know Mercury is not strong in Pisces.
That's what they say. I
That's
don't
what
know.
they say, but I
I
just
have
feel
it. I love it.
no. It's just I feel like it's the poet, it's the artist, it's like the
Yeah.
expression of like a feeling. Only a poet can express what we're really feeling in words that I just feel sometimes match so well than a
Hmm.
clear way, an analytic way, and a logical way. We need
Hmm.
that type of communication, arts, poetry, music to express what is inside in different forms. So like I believe you when I say it's just last time what you said for Aquarius season was really true when we're talking about Venus in Aries. Is that is they're in detriment, but it's just because the society doesn't accept that type of
Yeah.
communication or like and so or that type of Venus in Aries, which is bold and wild and doesn't take no for an answer as
Mm.
as a woman. And so it just felt like it's resonant true for that Mercury also in
Hmm.
Pisces. And I love that I learned that from you last season, and it was very profound. I felt that it was very true.
Yeah.
And so that this Saturn conjunct Mercury, I feel like I just love the clarity.
Yeah.
More clarity in my life.
No, we all do, especially
Yeah.
Mercury in Pisces, because uh sorry to interrupt you, but Mercury is moving kind of slow. At this point, I think it's
Hmm.
no, it not yet, but it's in that part of the chart. Um, and preparing to go into shadow phase soon. And in
Uh-huh.
Pisces, it is like a little bit diffused. So Saturn here is kind of like, okay, so you have this kind of not clear message, but let's try to put it together in a more structured way.
Yeah.
This feeling. Let's give this feeling better words.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I just like this after I just that period of time, February 24th, 25th, around those days, I just feel it's a great time to journal. It's a great time to express yourself, maybe through dancing,
Hmm.
anything that moves your body and your mind that can like purge or vomit everything that is inside of you.
Yeah,
I just feel like there's a way to channel that in those days. And so
100%.
using this Saturn energy, this Mercury energy that's kind of help you anchor for a little bit in that period of water is deeply useful.
I agree 100%. I want to share what I plan to do and might resonate with someone.
Hmm.
Read sacred texts. Saturn
Oh,
is Saturn in Pisces is
yes.
about sacred texts, whatever is sacred to you. Devote your day, and Saturn is about devoting oneself to Mercury in Pisces. Devote yourself to reading. I think whatever you're praying to, or pray on that day, and pray
Mm,
as as in Saturnian way, with devotion and discipline and some kind of, you know,
Yeah, yes, yes, I love that, Mariana.
yeah.
If you're a religious person, if you're a spiritual person, a Buddhist, like whatever religion or spirituality practice, it's a great day to do that. It's a
Well,
great day to recite
100%.
prayer text, mantra, affirmation, like all of that. I just love it. Yeah.
Well, for example, I'm Muslim.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be reading my favorite extracts from Quran, for example, on that
Mm.
day. I know what I'm gonna be doing, which
Yeah.
I'm not like doing that unfortunately often,
Hmm.
but I will be doing that.
Yeah. And like, yeah, just clearing the mind, helping clearing the mind with
Yeah,
Saturn. Yeah, it's just it's very good. And
yeah,
for those who are not religious or not
yeah.
spiritual, like, or just like doesn't want to do that type of work, I feel like I just can recommend one of the episode that is like with Jessica Linyadu, where
Yeah.
she talks about boundary work. And so when you have a
Hmm.
Saturn and Mercury
Yeah.
conjunction like that in Pisces, we talk about it at the first part of this episode, but boundary work is so good. And
Yeah.
it's this conjunction helps you figure out what type of boundary work or ritual you need to put in place for having that type of work in your daily life. And so listening to that episode with Jessica Linyadu, I think is like we posted it back in December. So it was December. So it's
Hmm.
not a long time ago. I think would be very helpful. Very helpful.
Yeah. 100%. Yes. And yes, Saturn is related to boundary work. It's related to, yeah, it's a
Mm.
beautiful suggestion. Yeah. Clean your house, clean your spiritual place, clean your
Oh,
whatever altar or something also.
I'm gonna clean my house for sure.
And it's before the new moon, right?
Boxes
So
and take this clutter, this clutter, this clutter. That's gonna
it's
be my
close.
mantra for that.
Honestly, for everyone, because Saturn is preparing to move into Aries first time in a long time. It's gonna come back into Pisces, but as Saturn is direct and kind of sweeping through Pisces, it's a good
Mm.
time to let go, clean anything from that Pisces part of your chart that you don't need
Yeah.
and organize better. And yeah, it's a beautiful time also because like on February 27th, we have a new moon in Pisces, right? So
Wow.
cleaning before that is also a good time, right before the new moon.
Let's I look at this new moon in Pisces and I like the number nine. I like that it's at
Yeah.
9 degree. Um, it's just like Jupiter in that. I just feel like because Jupiter is ruling that if you're a traditional astrologer and practice traditional astrology,
Mhm.
Jupiter is for you the ruler of Pisces. If you practice modern astrology, that will be Neptune. And
Mhm.
Neptune right now is in Pisces, so he's feeling comfortable, is at his full power, and Jupiter is in Gemini.
Mhm.
So I I feel like the again for me the theme is like the mind,
Mhm.
definitely the mind, and how
Controlling the mind.
yeah, and how to be able to again is that come back to this what I talked about and what you talked about Maya, at the beginning of this episode is to know is to be able to have to use our brain as and like we go to the gym for a muscle
Mhm.
that we forget to practice also every day and keep doing our brain this exercise that help you to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I feel with Jupiter in Gemini, there's so much conversation, so much information going our way. It's one of the most important work that we can do right now under this new moon. And I just feel of ritual practices is the last new moon before lunation before eclipse season.
Mhm.
So is one of the more clear one for me, this new moon,
Mhm.
and especially to prep for that eclipse season coming up. I feel
Mhm.
there is that work and that we can call up on that work that during that new moon.
Yeah, I think though it's a square, so the new moon in Pisces
Mm-hmm.
right here, squared by Jupiter, ruler of the lunation, in Gemini, where it's creating a lot of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this, but it's direct and it's also preparing to, it's on the way, it's only 12 degrees, but it's gonna move swiftly out of Gemini. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, this lunation, like you said, it's something learning how to choose better because Gemini is about the choice. How do we choose what we focus our energy on? Our mental energy, our spiritual energy. Do we spread ourselves too thin? How can it's a new moon, it's a new beginning in Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the information that's coming in affect in our subconscious mind? What is happening in our subconscious that informs our mental landscapes? And how can we do this better? How can we allow this to, it's a square. So like it's a constant friction of conversation between subconscious and incoming information. So how
Mm-hmm.
the constant incoming information is conditioning our subconscious into like certain patterns, and how can we take charge of that better? How can we not
Mm-hmm.
allow this like infinite influx of doomsday and all sorts of narratives distract us from what's important? The hardest thing for Jupiter and Gemini is to figure out what's important, what's
Mm-hmm.
essential. But we had Jupiter retrograding, completely pulling us in different direction, not giving us a moment of focus, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have an opportunity through some effort, it's a square, to choose better, to have better focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like that's what it feels like to me.
That's exactly what, and it's also a very magical moon. It's a
Mhm,
very magical moon. This new moon in Pisces, like Pisces is also the realm of the known. It's access to something that we don't see also.
mhm,
And this new moon is trining an asteroid that's called Hecate
mhm,
and is in Scorpio. Hecate right now is in Scorpio. And we know
mhm.
that Scorpio is also a water sign, very deep, can be very transformative, is very cardiac. I can never say that word.
Cathartic. That's what you said.
Cathartic.
Cathartic.
You got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Thank you, Marina. And Hecate in astrology, the asteroid, but also the myth. It's a god of magic, of witchcraft,
Really?
night.
I didn't
Hmm.
know that. You know, it's so funny. So to interrupt you, 3 days ago, I was looking because I've never gotten into asteroids.
Yeah,
I really know maybe
yeah,
a couple, but I don't work with them like in my
yeah.
planet.
But I just work with the witchy asteroid.
But I don't work with any of them. But
I was a
like
kid.
something on YouTube came up about some asteroid, not Hecate, something else. But then I was like, oh, I'm gonna look where all asteroids are in my chart.
Yeah,
And Hecate is on my ascendant. So my
yeah.
ascendant is 21 Aries and Hecate in my natal is a 20 Aries.
Very
I was like,
transformative. It's a very when you
I
have
know.
you could see when you have asteroid like Circe, like Medea, like Hecate, those are the three that I work the most with, and especially on your sun or any of your planet, and it particularly point like ascendant, descendant, IC, midheaven, because they're a very personal point because it's the time
Mm,
that you're born. For example, Hecate is a very transformative goddess. She is
mm,
associated with crossword, doorway, creative and that very transformative. So it's someone is I always compare it to the phoenix. She's like always transforming.
mm.
She's allowing us to feel comfortable during the in between. You know, during
Oh,
the in
oh, that
between
makes
of a stage
sense.
of our lives. And so because that she's also like witchcraft. So it's a lot about being able to transform our reality and being able to manifest our reality. And
Mm,
so that this is a very witchy moon for witchcraft, for ritual, and for manifesting because and she helping us to get through this transformation phase. She's bringing us the light during those crossroads and doorways and creative and ghost, and she's also in some instance she's also necromancy. So talking to dead people and ghosts.
Oh, wow.
So it's very, and because she's in a normal, she's basically right now in Scorpio, which is one of the sign that is related a lot to
Hmm.
everything witchy and depth
Yeah.
and dead and all that. And Pisces is very much related to channeling, how you learn, how you trying to higher self, the in between word, the dream work. There's a link between them, and that is the trine, the aspect that we're seeing between
Hmm.
that new moon and Ikiti, and doing the work of like the witchcraft aspect can help you moving through a in between phase that you're in, or a transformation phase that you're in right now. You can call on the fact to help you, guide you, and show you the way through, and help you during that transformation phase if you are in that phase and related to you. That can be helpful to call on that. Yeah, that's a very witchy moon, that one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So what else do we have here? What else? Oh, so what I'm noticing, Mercury is on the midpoint between North Node and Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
So um in Pisces. So I feel like in terms of the information that we receive, um there will be an expansion of some kind of restrictive because North Node expands and Saturn restricts.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercury here, maybe some restrictive communication be coming through,
Mm-hmm.
or some kind of like just be careful with your, just
Mm-hmm.
everyone take care of your immunity.
Yeah.
Mercury is like,
Yeah.
like just your immune stuff. Yeah. Um, I think that's pretty much most of the transits, right?
Yeah.
On the new
Yeah.
moon.
Because we like after this new moon, things have like we still have one, I feel one big conjunction of Mercury before it goes into ingress into Aries. So we're still, like you mentioned, in that public confusion phase a little bit with
Mhm.
Mercury and water. And it's gonna be even deeper, like on we have two kind of important shift before that, before Mercury ingress into Aries on March 3rd. We have on March 1st Venus station retrograde in Aries at 10 degree
So Venus, yeah, here it is. Venus
on
retrograde and
March
right,
1st.
and Moon also by the Venus. It's interesting. It's also in Aries
Exactly.
here.
And that same day, Mercury begin this pre-shadow at
Yeah,
26.
March 1st signifies an important date for
It's an
us.
important date, and is also it's just a lot of, we just like feel like there's a pull focus on the Pisces and the Aries part of a
Hmm.
chart that is very important. And Venus station in retrograde especially because, like I said, like it's an 8 year cycle. It's happened the same space 8 years ago. And we also mentioned that last time, astrologically is very significant because also 8 years ago, 2016, that's when Trump came to the office. And we have on March 1st, the exactly same retrograde that happened 8 years ago. And though those 8 year cycle, is good to see what happened in 2016 for you personally and see where you were at. And so that's important. But also there's a, I will say Venus represent everything that is femme, that is queer, that is woman, related to really female energy. And then when a station retrograde like this in Aries, there's, I feel, put focus on this. And I think like worldwide, this is going to be a lot of conversation around reproductive right, abortion, queer folks, LGBT. I feel like
Hmm.
there's a lot of information around that that's going to be very intense. And there's going to be, I feel, a fight when Venus is in Aries started this retrograde. A lot of, when you look at past Venus retrograde, there's a lot of riot, protest. So I feel we're going through this phase that's going to be important for organizing and protesting and making sure that our rights are not being touched. And that's going to be an important time for us collectively. That's what I think, especially
Yeah.
for this Venus retrograde.
So important. Well, first find Aries house in your chart. That's where it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I think I've mentioned this before. Last time Venus was retrograde in Aries, like you said, 8 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving back to San Francisco as we speak. I was doing that 8 years ago, moving back to San Francisco.
Crazy.
For me, it's kind of like by the playbook. It's insane
Mm-hmm.
how exact it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, the thing is, yeah, Venus in Aries, it turns the direction. Venus in Aries direct is very outwardly oriented energy in general. It's very much, it's not like Venus in Pisces, even if it's direct, it's still a bit more private. Venus
Mm-hmm.
in Aries direct, when it's direct, it's very outwardly. It's like, what do I want to achieve to have my values be met by the world? What can I do to have my desires fulfilled? Who can I make? Venus is about connection. Who can I
Mm-hmm.
connect to in order to have something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Mm-hmm.
but when Venus goes retrograde in Aries, and it's gonna dip back in Pisces later on, but what in Aries, it's like, what what do I what what are my deep hidden desires maybe what are my desires in relationships that I haven't been like brave enough maybe in areas or courageous to speak to the
Mm-hmm.
world, to speak to my partner, to speak to my like partner in personal and maybe professional life. It's
Yeah.
about understanding what's what is your core desire really really deep inside of you,
Mm-hmm.
figuring that out, not being too outwardly oriented, maybe, if we talk about personal lives. But yeah, if we talk about social and political, yeah, definitely it's about kind of regrouping.
Yeah.
It's regrouping time. Let's regroup and figure out how
Mm-hmm.
can we have our like needs and desires and values be met by whatever
Mm-hmm.
better. How can we fight for that better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more ethically. Venus is in any sign is how can we do this
Better.
fighting more ethically?
Yeah. And I do love what you said, but the personal aspect is like where we have been not brave enough or courageous enough to speak what we really deep want in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
or what we're looking for. And it's also a time that you're in couple with a partner, married, single, dating, whatever you are. It's a great time to, because the retrograde is always the free, like review, restructure, rethink. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also to see what do you want in a relationship, kind of redefining, because we change, we evolve, we transform, we change, like we grow. It's just our human life. So
Mm-hmm.
our desired change, what we wanted 10 years ago is not the same as we want now in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So
100.
redefining what you want to be able then to express that and to be more
Mm-hmm.
courageous and brave, like mentioned Mariana, is also the first step is to redefine w- what you want and what you want and
Mm-hmm.
extract spiritually, but also it can be physical, it can be mental, it can
Mm-hmm.
be logical, whatever it is, like what you're looking for deeply and what you need and your foundation to have a safe and strong relationship is I think it's important during Venus retrograde because she
Definitely.
talks about connectivity. So
Venus is about
wants
it's
to connect.
relational, so relational. And also like Venus is as it enters the retrograde phase, it's like 7-degree orb square to Mars. And Mars
Mm,
and Venus are always in this relational dynamic, right? So they don't reach the full square. So what does it like? I'm always like thinking when something does not reach and it turns back, when it's like, oh, the
mhm,
square has not been perfected. So it means this Venus goes back to do what? Before she confronts Mars in Cancer, she needs to do her inner work.
yeah, yeah,
Before Venus confronts Mars in Cancer, she needs to go figure her shit out herself. you know?
yeah.
So
Look,
that's what Venus retrograde. And also like um yeah, like people often say Venus retrograde, like people from the past coming back. I find it
Yeah.
more rare.
Hmm.
What more often is thoughts about people coming back and traumas about people coming back, and you have
Yeah.
a space to rework that
Mhm.
for
And to
yourself.
close, maybe
Yeah.
relationship, love story, friend stories that you might be not
Yeah.
the clear end, and this is time for you maybe to close the door or to
Mhm.
reinitiate the contact, whatever it is. Every story is different, but
Mhm.
this is the time to.
Definitely.
If it comes back to your brain, and that's mean that it's not over for you, and
Mhm.
there's the thing that is it connecting back to the relationship? Should I take the it's also, yeah, definitely Venus has this kind of exercise
Quality.
going on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it's a
Okay.
thing. Venus retrograde is
Yeah.
a thing. And then we have this very confusing, maybe very spaced out conjunction that is happening on March 2nd. That is Mercury in Pisces conjunct Neptune in
Mhm.
Pisces.
Yeah.
So we have our mind connecting with the dream world and the boundless and no
Yeah.
no boundaries planet that is pushing us to dream. I think it can be a great transit,
For
not for
illusions.
doing things, of course, but more for of thinking clearly and trying to make plans. And that's not the transit for you.
Yeah.
I just think it's a good transit to space out, to give that day the time on Mars to dream, to let go of anything of judgment or thing that you have for yourself, and just let yourself go wild.
Yeah, but don't space out into the black hole because it's also possible. Because it's
Black hole, I love it.
because
Don't go too far.
don't but the North Node is also right there and it expands that conjunction.
Yeah,
And it's gonna be like, I'm grateful that Saturn is not far away as well, but still North Node is closer. So
yeah.
I'm like, this whole thing is like the Lululand. It's like you really need to
You smoke that day. Don't smoke too much.
know what you need
Don't
to
do
do
that.
on
Yeah,
that day. You go take a poetry book, I don't
yeah.
know, a sketchbook, and go by the water and draw or write
It's a great
or
transit to go by the water. Yeah.
listen to music by the
Take a
water. I
bath.
don't know, watch some kind of like movie that fills you up with good emotions. Be very mindful because when Mercury is with Neptune and North Node, your boundaries are less intact. So
Yeah.
what you fill yourself in is gonna stick way
Ah.
more,
Oh yeah.
you
I
know?
don't watch depressing movies or documentary about serial killer, whatever shit. I watch
No, you should know.
I like love stories,
Me too. Good, me
like
too.
kind of like little town and a love story. That's my vibe when that's Mercury conjunct Neptune.
Neptune, yeah.
Because the depression part can go so fast and so high that it's hard to come back from
Yeah,
for a couple of days. So I know this Mercury in Pisces, I need to be filled with like kind of nice things
yeah.
because the mind can go deep into the dark side. Like you can
Mercury
go
in Pisces.
deep to the high up and lovable and optimistic side, but I was take yourself out of the news that day. And it's not for long because then the next day we have Mercury increases in Aries. So it's a short amount of time, but really fast we're back to reality. That's my feeling of it.
Yes, keep in mind though, Mercury is coming back to the same degrees. So whatever you, if you not carefully fantasize or start something, it's not wonderful. It's not a good time to start anything around March 2nd because
Yeah.
like Mercury is gonna go retrograde through those degrees again, right?
Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like and conjunct Neptune again.
Hmm.
So just be mindful that you really not create some castles out of the sand.
Hmm. Hmm.
It can be also Venus is already retrograde there, so it's like you might meet someone and like create a whole storyline in your head about something, which might be true, but whichever the outcome of that is, allow it time. Be
Hmm.
very slow in whatever new comes into your life during this time. Be very slow. slow and deliberate. Don't be fearful, don't be mistrustful, that those things are never helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But just be like, okay, I'm gonna give it time, I'm gonna observe, I'm gonna allow it to take some time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do we have on March 3rd?
The Mercury ingress in Aries into Aries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
different.
yeah, definitely different. And yeah, that help our brain to just like refocus very fast on what needs to happen now, you know?
Yes.
So it's definitely Mercury in Aries is more direct. You taking less shortcut in your brain. It can be like speaking before you're thinking. That type of that type of vibe can happen. Like try to if you're a person that is very fiery, that is very bold, that's a transit you want to watch out because Mercury will like if you're a fiery person that will like feed this fire and maybe you're gonna say something you regret later. So yes, Mercury is our communication goes fast, our brain goes fast, and it can be good for in period of crisis or in period when you have to work fast on something or quickly, but it can be sometimes detrimental, especially if you have a deep conversation with someone or you become impatient. That can create an impatient on like what the person wants to say or what you want to say, and you're like more direct than
Mhm.
usual. So it's just a watch out on that.
Yeah,
But
100%.
Mercury is going to retrograde. We're going to talk it about in the second episode of Pisces season. But Mercury is retrograding, started retrograde on March 14.
Mhm.
So we have a little bit of this, like 10 days of this energy of Mercury in Aries. That
Mercury is moving slow, but I like that Mercury in Aries is moving slow. So it's kind of like it's in Aries, but it's slow.
tamed the Aries. It tamed the Aries. And it is also a very, like, again, it makes you courage to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, just like there is a saying in Russian, I'll translate it roughly. A word is not a bird. Once it flies out, you can't put it back.
I like that one. It's
Yes.
true. It stick. And you
Yeah.
always wonder on the other side if the person was saying it's coming from somewhere. It's true. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, double think about before what you say.
100%. And the rule of this Mercury already in the shadow is Mars in Cancer. So it's all very much, you can say something out of feeling unsafe or hurt that you might regret later. Just like be mindful that a lot of people are hurting right now.
Yeah.
So it's like just be careful with the words. The words are potent. All
Hmm.
right. I think we kind of talked about most of the first part of the Pisces season, right?
It's a heavy first part season.
Yes. First part of 2025 overall, it gets
Yeah,
easier in the second part, but the first part of the whole year is a little bit of kind of like we're grinding here, but
yeah,
it's gonna get easier. And yeah,
yeah,
I'm I hope you guys enjoyed this. And
yeah,
Karima said, leave questions, comments, reach out to
yeah.
us. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you so much for listening
Thank you.
and see you for the second part.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Modern Witches podcast. We hope you've been inspired to cultivate your own magic and to craft your own spiritual practices. Let us know what sparked your curiosity by leaving us a comment on this episode or leave us a review. And don't forget to subscribe to the show so that you never miss an episode. Your feedback and engagement truly fills our cups. If you're looking for more ways to gather with your fellow witches, please support our work on Patreon. Learn more at modernwitches.org. Blessed be.